Do you think that Richard Allen did it? And better yet, do you think he's going to be convicted for it? Let's talk about the Delphi case, and then let's talk about all of the craziness with the Delphi case. And if you know, you know. This happened February 14th, 2017 in Delphi, Indiana. Unfortunately, we're talking about two young girls. We have 13-year-old Abby Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German. These girls were besties and they were pretty bored on this day because there was not any school on this day. And it was kind of warm for the area in February. So basically, they asked Liberty's sister to take them to this bridge, this hangout spot in the town. Well, let me just say, this bridge is sketchy at best. It's been redone since this all happened, but the pictures of it, it looked like you could fall through at any second. But people went there to walk, they went to enjoy the trails, and kids went there to hang out. This spot was over Deer Creek, this bridge. And like I said, it was sketchy, but the girls went there to hang out that day. Kelsey German, Libby's sister, dropped them off at this area at 1:35 p.m. At 2:07, we get this snap picture. It's kind of become famous, but Libby took this of Abby walking on the bridge. It's just a pretty normal snap. Girls were supposed to meet Libby's father back at the entrance of the bridge at 3:15 p.m. and they never showed. So, of course, the parents started looking on their own. They started basically walking the trails, calling out for their children, and they didn't get response. They didn't find anything. And their first inclination wasn't foul play. They thought that the girls might have been injured and are just stuck in the woods. And so they quickly called police about 5 o'clock. And there was a big search. When I say big search, everyone in this town that evening was looking for the girls. There was flashlights everywhere. There was people just walking up and down this area everywhere they could, even in the town, trying to find these two young girls. I remember seeing the pictures of the missing persons come out that day, and it quickly hit national news that these girls were lost. But like I said, it didn't nobody thought that it was going to be what it was. However, the next day around noon, the girls were found and it was not good. It was clear to investigators and clear to the people that found them that these girls were unalived. Now, we didn't get a lot of information. We just got that there was going to be a investigation and that it looked like there was an unaliver, but we didn't get a lot in those first days. They were found on the bank of Deer Creek, which was kind of by the bridge. It was a pretty, it was indications that they hadn't really left the area. Now, like I said at the time, we didn't get how they were unalived. We did not get how this happened until this year. So, for all of those years from 2017 to 2024, we did not know the manner of what happened. So, at what is now the trial, and I want to put this here because I want it to be known what happened. It was found that they were unalived by a kitchen utensil to the neck. Now, this is a very important piece of information as we go forward. So, like I said, I wanted to make sure that I drop this here. There were some weird things about the scene, okay? There was branches on top of the girls. There was red in kind of different places. The girls were unusually dressed. One of them didn't have any clothes on, and the other had on the other girl's clothes. There was some clothes found in the creek. There was just some weird things about the scene that didn't quite make a lot of sense, and investigators weren't sure what was happening at the time. And we still really don't have answers to a lot of these things. So the public just kind of went unknowing, right? For all of these years, we were just waiting for an arrest. We were waiting to see who this monster was. and we weren't getting a lot of information, and that was very frustrating. However, in the beginning days of this investigation, there was a lot going on. On the 17th of February, we got this bombshell. We got Bridge Guy. Now, if you know this case at all, you know Bridge Guy. This was a photo taken from what they believe to be Libby's phone of a man walking towards them. We have video of the man walking. We have pictures of what the man was wearing. His head is down, so you cannot make his profile out completely, but we do have photographic evidence of what this monster looked like. That's what made this case so different than a lot of things, is because we had the whole profile of this man, and we still went years without knowing who it was. And I'll circle back to that later. Police say that Bridge Guy is this main suspect in this case. And what's even more interesting is a few weeks later, we get Down the Hill. Down the Hill was probably the most interesting evidence we've ever had in a true crime case. So, from Libby's phone, we have him saying, "Guys, down the hill." And in this press conference, the police investigators repeat this small clip over and over and over again. And that's what I think makes this case so enthralling, is because we have so much evidence on this man and still did not get him for years later. Now, there was a couple of sketches put out, but I don't believe that these sketches were super reliable. First, because there was two sketches put out of completely different looking people. Their ages were very different and their profiles were very different. And so everyone was like, what exactly are we looking for here? And police did say that they believe that he was a local to Delphi. So everyone was just kind of like, there's a monster among us, but we don't know what is happening. And I think that's really just the big crime in this, is that he just went unnoticed and was just part of this community, and that is heartbreaking for this family and for this community. So between then and what we have now, there were a few things, right? There was this suspect that a lot of people believe, and that was the man who owned the property in which the girls were found. So they were found on a private property, but they were found on the riverbank of this like creek or whatever. The man who was or did own this property, he has since passed. People believed that he was a suspect in this case. There was a lot of people who came out saying, "We believe that this guy did it." In fact, 15 people came forward and said that they believed that this is who it was. But they had no evidence and they had nothing connecting him, and he, like I said, since passed away. Then there was this weird, interesting update that we got, which I semi reported on, but it was so weird. And that was that the girls had been communicating with someone under the name of Anthony Schatz. This ended up being Keegan Klein, who was a pretty horrible predator of children. He's since been arrested for having that material. And he says he didn't do it, but there's a lot of people who think maybe he did. I don't know. But there's not a lot of evidence pointing at him either, because there's just not a lot of evidence in this case. Now, in part two, we're going to talk about the trial of the century that is happening right now. We're going to talk about this suspect who is going through trial right now for the unaliving of these two girls. We're going to talk about whether you think he did it or not. And I have a lot of questions. So join me for part two.